gentlemen, my name is Magicpokey and I'm a gamer. I love all kinds of games, video games, board games, card games, you name it, and I've probably tried it once. My favorite game though, at least by the amount of time, effort, and money I've sunk into it, has to be Magic the Gathering. But you already know what Magic is, or you wouldn't be listening to me prattle on. Thank you for joining me today. Please note, this is my first video in a long time, so bear with me as I get back into the swing of things. Today I'm going to take you with me in a new experiment, the first of what will hopefully become a new video series on my channel, so let's get started. Welcome to the first episode of the Bargain Basement Brewery. For those of you who don't know, Magic is a collectible card game, and brewing is the slang term used by players to denote deck building. Magic can be really expensive, with single cards costing well upwards of $50, and some older cards costing into the thousands range. Most people use multiple copies of these cards in their decks. Needless to say, the price of playing Magic, at least if you want to stay competitive, can quickly get out of hand. That's why I created the Bargain Basement Brewery. My goal here at the brewery is to show you how to build a competitive, budget-friendly deck that will at least give you a decent shot at the competition. To that end, I've set a few rules for myself. Rule number 1. I'll be limiting myself to a $10 maximum cost for the entire deck. Since I'll be using Magic Online, this will figure into 10 tickets, the in-game currency. Rule number 2, I won't feel the need to trick out my deck with rare versions of cards or foils. Foils, or shiny versions of regular cards, are some of the most expensive cards in the game, and it's a needless waste when you're on a shoestring budget. 3, I'm resigning myself to having a suboptimal mana base. Shock lands, fetches, duels, and other utility lands are a common sight in Magic, and these non-basic lands are unofficially divided into 2 tiers. An expensive tier, where just a mana base can reach over $200, and a cheap tier, which is much more budget-friendly. We're talking $1 to $2 for the entire mana base. The drawback for this massive price difference, however, is that the lands aren't quite as fast, mostly coming into play tapped, depriving you of their use on the turn you play them. This loss of tempo can be the difference between victory and defeat in a close game, so I'll be brewing to minimize that impact. That suboptimal clause goes for spells as well, though it's not nearly as noticeable as it is with the lands. Where possible, I'll try to recommend a non-budget alternative for key cards, in case you want to take these brews to the next level. Well, there you have my mission here at the Bargain Basement Brewery, so let's stop this overlong intro and get into the game. This DeckTech is for a modern deck. Modern is a format in Magic where a lot of old sets are still legal, and it happens to be my favorite format. This deck is obviously blue-white, and it uses a combo with the Curse of Exhaustion and Knowledge Pool. I think this entire deck clocked in at $4.60 some odd cents. The way the combo works is, Curse of Exhaustion, you curse your opponent with it, and they can't cast more than one spell each turn. After that, you drop a Knowledge Pool, and be sure to drop the curse first, because if you drop the Knowledge Pool first, your opponent can lock you out. When Knowledge Pool enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top 3 cards of his or her library. Whenever that player casts a spell from her hand, that player exiles it. If the player does, he or she may cast another spell on Knowledge Pool. The primary interaction here is, with the curse out, your opponent casts a spell, it gets exiled with Knowledge Pool, and therefore doesn't resolve. Then they go to try and cast another spell from Knowledge Pool and can't, because they've already cast their 1 spell per turn. Getting this combo off is a hard block, meaning my opponent will basically never be able to play a spell again for the rest of the game. To that end, all I need after that is a way to win, so that's where these come into play. Sands of Delirium. They're cheap, they're efficient, and they're quick. Drop one out. By the time I drop one of these down, I'll have 7 or 8 lands on the board, and I can start milling them out. I'll probably have them dead within 5 turns. The rest of the deck is a basic blue-white control shell, a lot of counter spells, Hindering Lights for burn spells because they counter spells that targets me or permanents I control. They also stop artifact destruction and enchantment destruction, and they also let me draw a card. Delay, which is really good for X spells or storm spells, because what it does is not only does it counter the spell so it doesn't resolve, but it delays it for 3 turns. So when the spell comes back, if it has an X in its cost, the X is going to be 0, and if it's a storm card, they're going to lose all their storm count for it. Mana leaks are just your basic run-of-the-mill pay 3 or it's countered counterspell. Deprive is 2 mana for a counter target spell while returning 1 of your lands to your hand, and I've got a quick little interaction for that later. And Syncopates are just basically 3 more mana leaks in this deck, because you want to stop your opponents from doing things before they kill you. I'm also running 4 Think Twices, which is just extra card draw. Most of these I'll be playing at the end of my opponent's turn. Draw a card and then flash it back to draw another card. I'm also running 3 Day of Judgment. I could be running Supreme Verdict here, but Supreme Verdict is much more expensive, and Day of Judgment does the same thing. It just blows up everything on the field. I'm also running a couple of Cyclonic Rifts, which bounces a single permanent you don't control to your owner's hand. It's good against artifacts, enchantments, or big creatures. But if you get up to 7 mana and cast it, you overload it, and it bounces everything they own that isn't a land back to their hand. This is great for playing after you get the combo off to completely lock them out of the game. AEtherize is another way to help me survive a little bit longer, because when they attack me with a group of creatures, I'll pay 4 mana and bounce everything back to their hand. This has the added benefit of poofing tokens and getting rid of all kind of +1/+1 counters and whatnot. The mana base, as you can see, is pretty standard. A lot of blue and white lands, Azorius Guildgates. Once again, these could be shock lands, but I don't have the money for shock lands, and that's why we're in the Bargain Basement Brewery. Come into play tapped and add blue or white mana to your mana pool. Halimar Depths is the interaction I have with the Deprives, as when you cast Deprive to counter a spell, you bounce a land to your hand. When Halimar Depths comes into play, you can rearrange the top 3 cards of your library, so you know what's coming. I have your basic lands, islands, plains, a single swamp, which I'll tell you why later, Terramorphic Expanses, which are the cheap fetches. Let me pull one of these up. Long story short, Terramorphic Expanse lets you search your library for a basic land and put it into play. It's tapped, so that's fine, and you can't get the shock lands with it, but since I'm not running shock lands, hey, what's the point? They thin my deck out a little bit and also help me find my one-of lands that I need help with. Also running Vivid lands, Vivid Creeks, and Vivid Meadows, to be precise, which come into play tapped, and you can tap them for any color or whatever color they start with, but they have charge counters on them. Moving on to the sideboard, bring that into play here. The sideboard, I've got 2 more Cyclonic Rifts for playing against artifacts or enchantments, such as Pyromancer's Swath, or Pyromancer's Ascension, or Birthing Pod. I've got another Day of Judgment for Creature Swarm decks, another AEtherize, also for Creature Swarm decks, Bant Charms for destroying artifacts, such as mostly Birthing Pods, but, you know, sometimes I can get rid of a creature that can't be destroyed, it's indestructible, or I can counter an instant spell if I just need 4 more counter spells. That's also why I have the Forest here, so I can bring it in and search it up with Terramorphic Expanses. I have another Curse and another Knowledge Pool, in case I need to get the combo off a little harder, or in case they make me discard it. And I have another Sands of Delirium in case I need to get to my win condition. I'm also running three Batwing Brumes. These, I think, are the most interesting choice, because one of the biggest decks you're going to come up with is the Splinter Twin or Kiki-Jiki combo, wherein your opponent proceeds to create 30 or 40 creatures or more, and an arbitrarily large number of creatures, and attack you with them all with haste. Well, Batwing Brume, if you pay it for black-white, not only prevents the damage from the creatures that are attacking you, but also makes your opponent lose a life for every creature he controls. So, 2 mana win the game against Splinter Twin is not bad. So there you have the DeckTech. I'm going to take this into a few practice rounds and see how it plays. Thank you once again for joining me on Bargain Basement Brewery, and I'll see you in round 1.